Would you plug in the system?
None of them are on, Your Honor. It's not on.
There's a
There we
reason.
go.
Now it's on.
But
I had said that I thought it was normal, that it was her writing, I mean, that the note looked normal.
Did the note make any reference to what David could do after school?
Yes, it asked if he could go over to Eric Shore's house after school.
Did it ask that, or did it say that he had permission to do that?
It asked for permission to let him go, because that's, the parents have to write a note saying if they're not going home with the regular route, the regular routine, whether it's a bus or a parent picking them up, that you have to state that you're giving permission.
Now, as you're sitting here today, do you remember whether your December 4th, 1998 statement with respect to this note indicated anything about what Mrs. Jensen was sick with?
No, it just said she was sick, and then I remember having said to David, what is wrong with your mother? Because it didn't say in the note, just said she was sick.
And did your note, as you recall, on December 4th, 1998, did you remember, or did you indicate how David had replied to your inquiry?
Yes, he said she was coughing very hard. She had a bad cold, he thought.
Do you recall writing, when I asked David what was wrong, he said he didn't really know?
At first, his first response was he didn't really know, but then as I waited, he's very shy. He came out then and said, she's got a cough.
Okay. But your note of December 4th said, when I asked David what was wrong, he said he didn't really know?
He didn't at first.
Okay. And I'm just going through what has been said. I want the jury to hear about the statements you've made concerning your note. And directing court and counsel's attention now to the transcript of August 29th, page 104, line 13. Do you recall being asked the following question, giving the following answer? Question, and do you recall if she came? Answer, no, she did not. And when? A little after 9 rolled by, I asked David if his mother was coming, if he knew she was coming. And he said, oh, I forgot to give you a note. And it said that she was not able to come in that day. She wasn't feeling well. She had a bad cold, she thought, and there was a bad virus going around with a cough and cold, so I assumed that was it. Now, do you recall being asked that question and giving that answer?
I recall being asked that question, but the answer should be that David told me that she had a cold.
So instead of it said that she was not able to come, the transcript should read, and he said that she was not able to come in that day.
Yes.
Then it goes on line 22. Plus, she had asked me if I would allow David to go with his friend Eric Shore to Eric's house after school, because they have to have permission, written permission, in order to do that, rather than go home with anyone that's not the regular person.
Yes.
And then you recall being asked the following question on line 2, page 105. Question, did David say anything about his mother being ill? And you providing the following answer, line 4, page 105. Answer, I asked him because I was a little concerned. I said, what do you mean she's not feeling well? I said, it says here that she has a cold. I said, does your mom have a bad cold? And he said, yes.
No, you're reading wrong. Does your mom have a bad cough?
I'm sorry. Does your mom have a bad cough? And he said, yes. He's kind of shy at that age, and he said, she's just very sick. She couldn't get out of bed this morning, he said. Is that your recollection of what you testified to at that time?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And then just to be complete, on the next day, on August 30th, do you recall being asked the following questions by Mr. DeFazio? I'm sorry, Mr. Albee. Line 8, page 3, August 30th, 2007. 8, Ms. DeFazio, you indicated on December 2nd, David Jensen gave you a note, correct? Answer, yes. And that note was signed by his mother, Julie Jensen. Answer, as I recall, yes. And did you recognize the handwriting as being Julie Jensen's? Answer, yes. And how were you in a position to identify handwriting? I'm just curious. Answer, well, she would write notes in their assignment pads. Question, that just looks similar to what you'd seen before? Answer, yes, it looked similar. Question, you didn't keep that note? Answer, I thought I had. And then, when I heard she had died, I looked for it and I couldn't find it. Question, I take it you've never been able to find it? Answer, no, I've not been able to find it. Question, in that note, Julie didn't ask for any help? Answer, help? Question, yes. Answer, no, she never asked for help. She did thank me for my help, though. She said that you have, no. That was a different note on the 26th. That was a different note. The December 2nd one, she just was telling me that she was sick and that David had permission to go to Eric Schuer's house after school. Question, okay, she didn't ask for help? Answer, not in that note. Now, is there anything else you can remember about the note beyond what you've testified to here today and in those previous 2 days?
Well, as I told you just a few minutes ago, is that I had this flashback just last night when I was thinking about all this. And I could picture the note, and I saw that it was printed in my flashback. And I recall that she didn't usually print notes. She usually wrote in cursive. Now, if my recollection is correct, then I cannot be assured that that note that came on from David that day, I can't be assured was hers.
Okay. And I don't mean to jump around, but now we're going to go back to a question about the computer again. And will you please tell us the first time, as you're sitting here today, the first time you can remember ever having a discussion with Mrs. Jensen regarding her ability to use a computer?
When I asked her if she could use a computer, she said, I wanted her help in the computer lab with the children. She says, oh, I can't do that. I don't even know how to turn one on.
And when was that you had this conversation with her?
It was at the open house when I was asking her what kind of help she could give me.
And just so the jury knows, when was the open house that you're making reference to, if you can recall?
It was in August. It would be the day before school started, and we don't have an August calendar, but that year school started on a Thursday, I believe, and Friday they had school, but Wednesday night would be the open house, I think.
So it was some Wednesday night in August of 1998.
The night before school started.
When you asked Mrs. Jensen, okay, was there anything else that Mrs. Jensen said about the computer at that point that you can recall?
Well, she said, if you open up a program for me, though, I can type. She says, because I know how to type, but I don't know how to open up a program or start at anything.
Now, directing your attention to the exhibit that counsel referenced, it's was it D1?
You don't have to look at put your eyes in front of it.
I'm not going to do that.
For you if you needed it.
Your conversation with Mrs. Jensen, the last conversation you had with her when she was still alive was Wednesday, November 25th, correct?
Yes.
And that's when she was describing to you that she had believed, let's see how steady I can make this here.
Well, Mr. Elby and his client can't see the board, and
It's a calendar. I know the dates at least, I think.
I understand.
Perfect.
I'm pointing here to November 25th, so that they know what I'm pointing at.
And his point is a good one, but I just want to make sure that if he wants to, he
No, I appreciate that.
Thank you. So I can continue, Josh?
can fire away.
Okay. It's November 25th. that Mrs. Jensen told you that she believed her husband had tried to kill her the previous weekend, correct?
Yes,
And that she was afraid of her husband,
yes.
and that she was going to try to leave him.
Judge,
Yes.
this is leading. It's all been asked and answered.
Sustained.
Okay. And then it was December 3rd. Was it on December 3rd or December 4th that you heard that Julie Jensen had died?
I found out on the morning of December 4th.
That she had just died on December 3rd?
Yes,
And that was how many days after she told you that she believed her husband was going to kill her?
it'd be 9 days.
Let's see, the 26th was a Thursday. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days.
No, I didn't find out
Well,
till the
the date
4th.
she found out would be the
The
9th
4th,
day.
so it's
But it was the 8th day.
that she
8
died.
days later, she was dead.
Yes.
No further questions.
Let me just try to be relatively brief here, Ms. DeFazio, and just touch on a few subjects here. Did Julie Jensen ever tell you that she had previously filed for divorce against Mark Jensen?
I don't remember.
And you don't remember if she said that at all, or if you've heard that later, or what are you saying?
I can't recall if she told me that or not. It's fuzzy. I can't remember.
Is that something you think you may have heard later?
I'm completely, I don't recall. I'm not sure.
Okay. With respect to this note she said she found, and you said it had syringes and names of drugs,
Yes.
did she identify at all those names of drugs?
No.
Did she also tell you that there are things like aspirins and razors on that list?
Well, Your Honor, I object. This is outside the scope of redirect. It's got nothing to do with
Well,
the examination.
The list came up.
And I'll tell you that I generally have a fairly permissive policy about that.
Well, then I won't make any more objections like that, Your Honor.
If it gets abused, then it will be dealt with, but go ahead.
Did she identify any of those drugs? No, I think that was beyond that. It was the aspirins and razors. Did she tell you that that was on the list?
I don't remember if she said that. I clearly remember her saying syringes and drugs, but if she said other things, I cannot recall.
Okay. And she told you that it was a paper listing things to buy in her husband's stuff, right?
She said to me, it's like a grocery list, she said, of things to buy.
Okay. You would agree with the characterization of paper listing things to buy in her husband's stuff, true? Yeah, sorry, somebody called. You would agree with the characterization that she said she found a paper listing things to buy in her husband's stuff, true?
She found a paper of things to buy in her husband's stuff. She found it next to the computer. That would be, I suppose, in her husband's stuff, yes.
Yes. She called it a paper listing things to buy. That's
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Wait, you said things to buy. Wait, see, I remember her, recall her calling it a grocery list. But if you're going to mince that word to buy, I don't know.
Well, I don't want to mince anything.
Okay.
You wrote a statement, and you were the one at the typewriter on December 4th, right? Mm-hmm. Yes?
Yes.
And you typed out at that time, she had found a paper listing things to buy in her husband's stuff, correct?
Are you reading it right from the paper?
May I just say yes? Can we move this forward? Yes.
Yes.
Say it. If it's true, say it.
And you wrote that at the time, correct?
Yes.
And that's because Julie Jensen had told you that, right?
Yes.
Now, did Julie Jensen tell you that she had gone to college and was very close to getting a nursing degree?
No, I don't think we got into that.
Did she tell you that she had worked for an investment firm?
No.
Did she tell you she had a Series 7 broker's license?
I don't think so.
Did she talk to you about ever having worked before?
We didn't have conversations about that. I don't recall us talking about her previous life before children.
Now, you say you have a flashback memory. When did you have this?
Last night.
Was it a dream?
No, I was just thinking about the case, and all of a sudden this flashed into my head, this vision that I was visualizing, as we tell the children to visualize what you're reading, and I was visualizing this note.
And did you talk to your husband, the psychotherapist, about the reliability of a flashback memory?
No. I didn't even tell him about it.
Did you have any other flashback memories yesterday?
Objections irrelevant.
Without more, it would be irrelevant.
Now, I truly don't want to belabor this any longer, but on this issue of a cold, the fact is, twice in the testimony on direct examination when you testified in August, you said that her letter and her note indicated that she had a cold. True?
Yes, it said that she had a cold, but I found it out from David.
Well, you read the note.
The note said that she was sick. And then but it didn't say what she was sick with, so I had to ask David because I didn't know.
But you acknowledged twice you testified in two different answers. On August 29th, 2007, you said that she had a cold.
I testified that she had a cold, yes.
So you did, no, you testified that the note said she had a cold.
Objection, that's not the witness's testimony, Your Honor.
Well, that's one of,
She has stated that she's uncertain as to why that entry would be on the transcript.
well, I'm allowed to question. This is an official court record.
And that's fair. I agree with you. You're entitled to question on it, and I'm not going to stop you from that. But I do think it's important that when you phrase the question, you allow her to explain what her position is.
All I'm saying is, I'm asking the question. The note said she had a cold. I think that was the question.
And the question has been asked and answered. She's repeatedly said the note didn't say that. She just got done
The
testifying.
matter is not exhausted. The objection's overruled. You can answer the question. Well, start the question.
Right.
Let's do it this way. You testified in two different answers in August that the note indicated that Julie Jensen had a cold. Correct?
I said that Julie Jensen had a cold, but I found out from David. If it says in that testimony there that I said the note said that, that is incorrect.
And you had a chance to read this transcript before testifying, right?
Yes.
And the DA's office asked you if you had any corrections, correct?
I missed a word "it." That's what you're mincing on, a word "it," instead of "he."
Ma'am?
His actual question was whether the district attorney asked you if you had any corrections.
In a letter that she wrote, yes, she did say if you had any to let them know.
Well, the next page, on page 105, beginning line 2, question, did David say anything about his mother being ill? And first of all, that question was asked because first you were talking about first the questioning was about the note. Now the question moves to question, did David say anything about his mother being ill? Answer, I asked him because I was a little concerned. I said, what do you mean she's not feeling well? I said, it says here, she has cold. So you were referring to the note, correct?
Objection. Here's my objection to the question, Your Honor. If counsel just read the question and the answer, I wouldn't have had an objection about it. But he had this long preliminary statement before he asked the question. I don't know that I agree with that preliminary statement, and anybody's not to make statements, he's simply to ask the question.
I think that the matter is one for argument.
May we publish this then?
Yes.
Publish what? The entire transcript?
The portion that is in question?
Well, which portion is in question?
Well, why don't we...
Actually, I'm going to turn to something else right
Be
now.
my guest.
Yeah, all right. That would be great. I know. Now, December 4th, one day after Julie Jensen's death, 2 days after you received the note, you wrote a statement, correct?
Yes,
And in that statement, you said Julie's handwriting looked normal, right?
yes,
And you say, then you explained it. You said, by that, I mean it didn't look different in any way.
that's what I said then.
And it was fresh in your mind, right?
Yes,
And Julie's handwriting, from having seen it on prior occasions, was fresh in your mind, right?
yes,
And you knew already from Detective Ratsberg that they were considering this a suspicious death because of the letter, right?
because of the letter, not the
Yes.
note. Yes,
And so you wanted to be extra careful about what you had to say, right?
yes,
And you said it didn't look different in any way to you, true?
yes,
And also at that time, when things were fresh in your mind, you wrote, when I asked David what was wrong, he said he didn't really know.
at first, that is what he said.
Well, by the time you wrote this note, did you know that he had said anything else? This statement?
See, that was written on the 4th, you said?
Yes.
Yes, because I did know she had a cold, so he told me.
Well, but that's the thing, when you wrote this, you, according to your testimony today, you would have been aware that David had a cold, or that she had a cold from David. But when you wrote this, you wrote, when I asked David what was wrong, he said he didn't really know. You didn't say anything about him telling you she had a cold, right?
I didn't know.
You didn't write anything in this statement about him telling you that she didn't get out of bed, right?
Right,
You didn't write anything in this statement about telling you anything about her condition, right?
right. But I do recall calling up, can't say anything.
Go ahead and ask your next question.
And not only that, you talked about what somebody else had said that David had said about his mother. Let me just show you the
Yes,
refresh. You know what I'm
yeah.
talking about?
Yes, mhm.
Okay. And without getting into that statement, I mean, you went into detail about what David had told someone else, right?
Yes,
But you didn't say anything about David telling you about the condition of his mother, right?
that's right.
And that's because at the time, 2 days after it happened, you didn't recall any such statements from David, right?
Wrong.
That's all I have.
Any question?
Yes. First of all, when counsel's making reference to another person telling you something, who was the person that he was talking about who had told you something that David had said to him?
I object on the hearsay.
Well, it's not hearsay.
The actual question does not require a hearsay response.
So
Eric
who-
Shore
Eric Shore.
had told his mother something.
And his mother had told you something.
Yes,
Okay, we don't know, I don't want to know what Eric Shore's mother
I'm not
told
gonna
you.
say
I
it.
just want to know, was Eric Shore had told his mother something, his mother told you something about what David had said to Eric Shore? Is that yes?
yes,
Now, and this is outside the scope of recross and redirect, but with the court's permissive attitude in this, I'll ask one question on this one subject. Tell me, did you ever notice anything about how David reacted when his mom would first walk into the room on Wednesday morning? Did you ever notice how David responded to his mother's presence in the room?
oh, he always had a smile on his face.
Like he was happy to see her?
Sure.
No further questions.
Any question?
Do you know whether David felt additional pressure by his mother's presence in the classroom? Did he ever tell you that?
No,
Any question?
No.
Any question?
No, Your Honor.
Their timing's pretty good, I'd say. Let's break until 8:55. And any questions? Please don't read, watch, listen to any media account, and do not discuss the case with anyone, not even with your fellow jurors. I know the temptation will be great as the case progresses for you to have conversations with members of your household and the like. And it's, again, very, very, very important to your remaining free to leave in the evening that and for your own personal protection against undesirable consequences, that you adhere strictly to this rule. So please keep that in mind. And with that, I wish you a good evening.
I think at some time earlier this week, some member of the media informed you that there was a possibility of something about this case appearing in Good Morning America, and also something appearing Thursday night on Anderson Cooper 360. And I specifically raised the issue with defense counsel before the court had discharged the jury to see if he wanted a specific instruction, and at least with respect to Anderson Cooper 360, and he did not. So we didn't try to stop the court from excusing the jury. So I just think that if there's any problem that arises with respect to Anderson Cooper 360, the counsel had the opportunity to request an instruction on it.
Before I invite his response, did you want to update us from ABC?
Yes, as far as I can determine, it's not on the route for tomorrow.
Okay, fine.
So it might be
Is anybody here from CNN? I know that, well, from, no? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Judge, if the jury ends up being poisoned by publicity, it will not be excused because I didn't ask for an instruction at some point. My gut reaction, my best guess in a real catch-22 kind of situation, a Hobson's choice, is that we're better off not drawing their attention to it and giving them the temptation to watch it. There's that argument on the one side. On the other side, it's tell them not to watch it, and they'll avoid accidentally running into it and deciding to watch the whole thing. And it's pretty close to 50-50, but by no means will I acquiesce to some suggestion that, well, if the entire panel watches Anderson Cooper and is tainted by that publicity, that somehow I invited it and it's all okay now.
Well, I understand what you say. I will say that the discussions that were had, I did alert the lawyers. I think this may be on the record. Some of it I know took place off the record, about these two particular programs, of which I thank the media for alerting me. And I think that was left, the last discussion I had with the defense and the prosecution, which I think was off the record, was along the lines that you say. It probably is better to just leave it alone and not say anything specific, but to reinforce the general admonition they receive when they leave about not watching, which I tried to do, and tried to throw in again the discussion about the possibility that they'd end up in a hotel for the rest of the trial, and worse personal consequences. So hopefully that will deal with it. There's always some risk, obviously, but I think that's true. And as far as the Anderson Cooper program, and it's a program with which I'm not terribly familiar, but even if there is something on the air, and even if a juror sees it, I think we would be jumping to conclusions to think that it would be something that ultimately the jurors either haven't heard or won't hear in this case, because there's been plenty that most of what has been discussed widely in the media is either has or will come into evidence in the case. So I'm not going to lose my hair over it, or what's left of it, but it's always a risk.
It's just a wait and see. I agree.
Anything else?
And I can do this some other time if you prefer. I have some concerns about the manner in which redirect is conducted, because I don't think it's proper redirect to simply redo the direct. I heard the identical answers from Therese DeFazio multiple times, and I don't think that's proper. But I also don't think I'm getting anywhere with my asked and answered, and so I'm feeling like I shouldn't make that objection anymore, but I think that it's going too far. I also don't think it's proper rehabilitation to read long portions of transcripts. Prior inconsistent statements can be brought out, but I don't think that means you read everything that is consistent with what the witness had to say here. I don't think it fits within the prior consistent statement. I mean, if it needs for context, I'm not saying every single thing that's been read. There's certainly mistakes I've made, other things that he's pointed out that are perfectly legitimate, but I think some of it's gone too far.
Well, let me just say that I'm not going to rule on a non-contemporaneous objection.
And it's,
So if you feel that something is being done which is harmful, you need to object immediately. I want to discourage everybody from asking and answering. It's a difficult thing for the judge because sometimes the lawyer is only asking the question over again to set the stage for some new question. And you know what? Sometimes it isn't for that reason, and they just do want to try to repeat it. And everybody has to be alert to that. So please watch carefully on that. And anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Enjoy this magnificent evening.
Kathy.